Hey guys, welcome back to Intentionally Disturbing, the Dr. Leslie show. Not quite sure yet. Well, today's been a huge day on just dumping information on the Blake Lively Justin Baldoni docket. So I thought, why don't I actually go through some of this a little bit more with all of you, especially those who aren't going to look at the actual docket, who maybe fed false information, who don't care and just want to be a part of a side, who want to make fun of a woman's looks rather than actually reading information and analyzing it. Yeah, so we can go through like the actual Blake Lively docket. One thing I do want to note, so I want to talk about celebrities and court cases and how we are manipulated because it is just happening everywhere. And as a forensic psychologist, that's what I do. I look for manipulation. I look at patterns of behavior. I analyze people. I figure out who's lying. Yeah, especially lawyers. Lawyers hire me to do it, but I also analyze the lawyers, and I see a lot of lawyers in therapy as well. So just what's really interesting to me with this Lively case is that Brian Friedman is, in this case, way more than a lawyer would be in a normal case. Nothing about this case is normal, but what I like is that it's showing the world how dirty smear campaigns are. It's showing the world how you can manipulate algorithms so uh, quietly. And it's taking the Lively team so much time and money to actually show people the hidden agenda and what can happen. And every time we see a celebrity go through something, especially civil litigation, we really have no idea what the truth is because by the time we're seeing it, by the time it's in trial, it's theater. It really is theatrical. I think it was yesterday or the day before that the judge ruled that that YouTube account Popcorn Planet, I don't know, I don't listen to the person. He has to turn over his communication with the Wayfair party. Now, everyone kind of assumes the communication is with him and Melissa Nathan or Brian Friedman, the attorney. Who knows? We'll find out because I think it's December 19th, correct me if I'm wrong, that he has to actually turn in almost 90 pages of text messages. Now, as you've seen in the docket, and as I've posted before, when you see a text message on a page, it's not just one, there's like numerous text messages on one page. So if we're talking about, I think, close to 90 pages of communication over like a 6-month period, that's not just journalism, right? That's not journalism at all. That's looking for information from one source and being told what to post in order to smear. And I don't care if he got money from it at all directly from them. He got money from the YouTube clicks and the social media income that came from it. And also, didn't he do like a GoFundMe or something to help with his legal bills and then went on some kind of elaborate vacation? The whole thing is really icky. What I found interesting was because of the state he lives in, I think he was also held more accountable. But I also think the judge is like, who the fuck do you think you are? Stop calling yourself a journalist. Now, Perez Hilton, I think, should have had to turn over things, but I think, well, it's Nevada that things are more loose. But also, Perez Hilton has a way longer span of shitting and ruining the lives of celebrities. And so maybe because he has more of a history of doing this, maybe the judge also went a little lighter on him. I don't know if you'd consider him a journalist. I certainly would not. I would consider him a misogynistic, hateful, horrible human being who outed people's sexualities before they were ready, who posted pictures of nude minors online. And he has just continually done horrible things. I actually hired his nanny after she quit and working for him. So I learned a bit about him, but when it comes to the stuff that he has made public, it's still he's just openly a nasty person. Openly a nasty person the way he describes people and what he says, and it's utterly disgusting that he's platformed. I'm happy we don't have to read through his typos and misspelled communications that he probably had with Brian Friedman and Melissa Nathan for a very, very long time. It probably would have like killed half of or most of our brain cells to read that. Now, I'm sure the messages from Popcorn Planet are going to be as bad, but at least they'll be kind of entertaining. Corned Planet. I don't know don't know where the name comes from, but what I do appreciate is that the judge kind of put in this 18-page, like, fuck you letter. And I haven't seen this judge get so spicy. Come on. You're a YouTuber. Your account is named like Popcorn, and a federal judge is mandating you to turn over your communication in a case, in a hundreds of millions of dollars case. Is this not obscene? Why? Why fight it? Why fight it? Why take it to the level of journalism at a federal level unless you're hiding something? And since you had to show all of this to the judge in order to let in order for him to let you go and get out of it and not show the public, then you're definitely hiding, right? Because what the judge has seen, he wants the public to see. He thinks it's worthy that the public sees. So what I'm assuming it is talking points like we will go through that have landed on the docket today. But what I'm assuming is it's a bunch of talking points that this narrative that Melissa created and Jed Wallace created. And Jed Wallace, again, his deposition was unredacted, and he's just wishy-washy left and right, saying he works with a team, but then saying he doesn't, saying he openly lies to get business, but then saying he didn't. His timelines are all off. He can remember specific things, but not other very specific things. So there's no way I find any of what his information is valid. But what I do think is that he has big ability to do some dark web doomsday bad things. And I think Gottlieb, Blake Lively's attorney, questioned him very well and really honed in on the inconsistencies of his statements. Like, we have these facts and you're saying this and you're talking in plural, you have teams, now you're saying singular, now you're saying you're lying to your clients. So overall, I mean, Jed Wallace, he's really good at what he does, so I'm sure he'll still get jobs, but basically the whole deposition just looked like he lies to his clients as well. It's fairly interesting, but more so with the popcorn guy, he hones in that the popcorn guy didn't turn stuff in on time, so there's a lack of professionalism there. He definitely said he's not a journalist. Signore, oh, that's, yeah, his last name is Signore. Signore describes himself as Popcorn Planet's main host, investigative reporter, and paid employee. Signore claims extensive experience in journalism and entertainment news reporting. On July 1st, 2025, Lively subpoenaed Popcorned Planet for 7 categories of information related to the underlying action. Blah, blah, blah. Ignore tried to quash the subpoena. Of course, I think that's when he asked all of you guys to send him money. Where'd that money go? I'd like that back. Yeah. Okay, so basically, he didn't do things in a timely manner. I don't know if he's been sued before. I don't know who this is. So the judge states basically what a journalist is, and he quotes, "A professional journalist has a qualified privilege not to be a witness concerning and not to disclose the information, including the identity of any source that the professional journalist has obtained while actively gathering news. This privilege applies only to information or eyewitness observations obtained within the normal scope of employment and does not apply to physical evidence, eyewitness observations, or visual or audio recording of crimes." Okay, so that's what a journalist is. Now, here's the judge's analysis, which made me giggle. Popcorn Planet fails to show that the journalist's privilege applies and otherwise waives its claims to privilege. Privilege, secret stuff. He doesn't have secret stuff anymore. Ignore formed Popcorn Planet on June 20th, 2022 as a Florida for-profit corporation for the purpose of media production. He reinstated the corporation on October 8th. Interesting. 25 after an administrative dissolution in 2024. Ignore claims that he is now an investigative reporter and receives a salary from Popcorn Planet. Signore describes Popcorn Planet as a publicly accessible news and commentary channel and himself as the show's main host. Popcorn Planet's channel is an account on the website youtube.com through which Signore publishes content. Signore describes the channel's content as news videos some of which feature legal experts to comment on high profile court cases involving celebrities. Interesting timeline that this definition all changed. Signore claims that he is unquestionably entitled to invoke basically Florida statutes, saying that this is privileged communication. He says he's a professional journalist, but again offers no analysis of the statutory language and concludes without explanation that Popcorn Planet satisfies that language with no explanation. Thank you. Finally, Signore claims that the content published by Popcorn Planet constitutes news because that content is information of public concern, namely in the categories of entertainment, culture, and current events. The judge says to qualify as a professional journalist, Signore must regularly engage in the collection and publication of news while working as a salaried employee or independent contractor for a newspaper, a news journal, news agency, press association, fire service, radio or television station, network, or news magazine. Yet Signore says nothing about how Popcorn Planet fits within the meaning of these terms. ChatGPT could have told you to just rewrite this and maybe it would have been quashed. He goes on. For example, Popcorn Planet concludes without analysis that Popcorn Planet is the type of employer contemplated by these sections. However, a YouTube channel such as Popcorn Planet is clearly not a newspaper or a news magazine under a plain and ordinary meaning of those terms. So that's just like on the dictionary. Neither does Popcorn Planet readily fit the terms news agency, press association, wire service, radio or television station, or network. That leaves news journal, which also appears to exclude from its plain and ordinary meaning a YouTube channel. He's getting snarky, the judge. Even if Popcorn Planet could muster a definition broad enough to cover its YouTube channel, an interpretation must consider the context in which the term appears. This section is precise and clearly intended to exclude certain types of media, as evidenced by the exclusion of book authors and others who are not professional journalists. Like, literally, you thought you were just going to go to a federal judge and say, hey, I'm a journalist. I'm not turning over private communication, potentially with the opposing party's fucking lawyer. There's so many mistakes in this. The definition of professional journalist includes within its scope professional news organizations, which are distinguished in part by the exercise of editorial standards and control. Nothing submitted by Popcorn Planet suggests that it shows just any of this, any practices that are like editorial norms or standards. He also mentions that his address is a USPS mailbox and his private residence. I mean, that's kind of like Candace Owens, right? She does it from her basement. She made sure to tell that to the president of France that I'm just a lonely podcaster in my basement. Yeah, she wants to be called a journalist at times and just a podcaster at other times. But right now, this guy, Andy, wants to be a journalist. We're only on page 12 of 18, so I'll go faster. Signore cannot assert a blanket claim of privilege over his activities, but rather must assert that privilege on a document by document or item by item basis, as would any other holder of a constitutional or statutory privilege. I honestly feel like he kind of just went about this wrong. Like maybe the judge would have let him, but the way that he did it, the judge seems pissed off and really over this. And maybe he seems like he kind of knows like this is really a smear campaign, and it's pretty clear. Here, Lively served the subpoena on July 3rd, 2025, and Popcorn Planet moved to quash on July 25th, 2 days after the time required for compliance. He's a stickler for timing, and he didn't ask for an extension. Well, I would assume he wasn't taking it as seriously as now what has happened. And he was using it for clickbait and videos. I would assume he talked all about it online. I don't know. I don't watch, but I would. The judge even said he explained that the privilege log was inadequate. For example, in one entry, the log identifies a text string spanning from, listen to this, January 1st, 2025 to June 24th, 2025. What's that, 6 months? The description, that entry, along with every other entry, is a vague conclusory statement, essentially saying that the item is privileged, which provides little basis from which to evaluate the claim of privilege. Whoa, who you talking to on the wafer parties for 6 months? You dating someone over there? Or are they just making all your content for you? But you're a journalist. You're not allowed to be biased. Were you talking to the lively side too for 6 months? Do you have 90 pages with them? In response, counsel for Popcorn Planet argued that it was nonsense or absurd to suggest that he had to log or itemize each and every text message subject to privilege. And the lawyer was like, that's not my job. An in-camera review of documents included in the privilege log demonstrates the problem with Popcorn Planet's generic conclusory privilege log. For example, item 4 on the privilege log is a 6-month-long 89-page text message conversation between Signore and a defendant in the underlying lawsuit. So that's probably Melissa, Nathan, or Brian Friedman. As one would expect, the conversation contains some information that is clearly irrelevant, unresponsive, and not privileged. The text message conversation constitutes the bulk of the material in the initial privilege log, which contains a mere 142 pages. Yet the log nowhere specifies the number of individual messages, pages, or specific exchanges to which the privilege allegedly applies. You're talking to a federal judge, man. You got to get your shit cleaned up. They want to know every single period and placement location. I mean, my reports on cases like this are 100, 150 pages, and that's just describing like one person's personality. Thus, Popcorn Planet couldn't plausibly claim an undue burden in having to separate these documents into their relevant and purportedly privileged parts because he didn't fucking do it. So, okay, that claim's out. He just kind of lazily was like, here, look, this is like all my shit. And the judge was like, yeah, that's not how this works. Welcome to federal court. And then the judge goes on to say that even if we weren't even like dealing with that, like the fucked up privilege log, a comparison of documents included in the in-camera inspection with those produced to Lively reveals no discernible substantive difference. He went in on him. Even if Popcorn Planet, I hate that I'm saying popcorn so much, established that the privilege applies, Lively overcomes it, as she and her lawyers have with nearly everything. Even if Popcorn Planet established that the items sought by Lively fall within the journalist's privilege, Lively can overcome it. The requests in Lively's subpoena are directly relevant and material to her claim that the defendants in the underlying action orchestrated a campaign to defame her with the help of third parties who created disparaging and false content. How can anyone deny that when the judge is saying that right now and he just read all of it? Furthermore, an in-camera review reveals that the responsive materials are directly relevant and material to Lively's claim. Okay, he saw the evidence. The judge saw the evidence and is saying her claim is valid. Anyone who's saying there's no smear, I don't know. Like, can you not read? I don't know, but it does bother me that on that line on page 16, there's a typo. No, that bothers me because everything was really going well until Lively's name is spelled wrong. Just do like a correct all. Come on, like do a search. Anyone, even the judge, anyone, whoever is writing this and editing it for the judge. But I'm sure he's really tired because it's been a fucking year. Lively further establishes that she tried to discover this information from the defendants and to some extent has been unable to obtain these materials from them. Lively demonstrates a compelling need because these materials go to the heart of the matter. That is the primary theory underlying Lively's defamation claim. The subpoena imposes no undue burden on Popcorn Planet. Yeah, he already submitted all of the information to the judge. The judge already saw it. He didn't organize it. He doesn't have to now. He just has to hand it over and make it public. So, in conclusion, the best part, accordingly, the amended motion to quash is denied in bold, all caps. I would put this up on the screen for you, but I don't know how to do that. I don't really know how to use YouTube, but I'll figure that out for the next giant case because I'm sure we're going to have many smear campaign cases coming after this. Anyway, so motion to quash denied. And the initial motion to quash denied as moot no later than December 10th. And today's the 3rd, so we gotta wait. Popcorn Planet must produce all responsive material to Lively's legal team, including every item contained in Popcorn Planet's privilege log, which is just his communication back and forth with the a defendant in this case, getting the tea and hoping to further his YouTube channel and monetize off it. But now look what's happened. I mean, it's probably just gonna like fuck over Wayfair and Justin Baldoni, but Popcorn Planet will just benefit from it at the end of the day. So I don't really know that he cares either way turning it over. I guess it depends if he said anything kind of incriminating or no, actually, he's probably just gonna do really well after this, because why wouldn't he? People love the drama, they just come to hate, so even if they find him disgusting, like they already did, and they do again, they're just gonna keep finding him that way. I don't remember what happened with the Candace Owens stuff. Does she have to turn over her stuff? Okay, so that's like a super I really wanted to read that because everybody wants to be a professional, whatever, on TikTok or on Instagram or on YouTube. Everybody just claims to have so much more knowledge than they do and so much experience. But at the end of the day, um, you know, this individual just tried to get out of a massive requirement in a lawsuit, and he's really had a long correspondence with a defendant in the lawsuit, and it's about a smear campaign, so it seems very logical that it's going to have to be included. So the funds he used that you guys donated or people donated to him, it was all kind of silly. He should have just handed it over in the first place. What a waste of money and time for everyone. And I can see that I feel that anger from the judge in this. So all of this just could have not happened, which is so ridiculous to me. Okay, and then we have a bunch of things that dropped that were text messages that were previously redacted, or just not shown. And now we're seeing more of the information. And so I pulled out a few of those that I find particularly interesting. One, I find Melissa Nathan and Jane Abel to be extremely immature, but also very, very malicious and not caring. They even make a joke about ending Blake Lively's life. So I was kind of shocked that they seemed even more immature than Jamie Heath or Justin Baldoni. And in this, I'm also thinking like, Stephanie Jones rocks. Like, she's not a part of this. She didn't know about any of this. They are really kind of evil, and people actually have the audacity to say that Stephanie Jones was the bad person in this. No, it's really becoming clear that she's the good person in this and that she was not even aware of some of the dirty shit these people were doing. Okay, so in one of these messages, Melissa says, "Do you mind if we go offline with just you and Jamie? And I feel we should tell him. And I'm not sure if we should tell Justin today due to his wife celebrations." That's August 2024 when they're like, whoop, shit's about to go down. You can, of course, do that, but I do think he needs to know. I'm going to confidentially send you something he's texting me and Jamie on the side just to arm you before this call. So they're like kind of like scared of him, right? He wants to feel like she can be buried. Sounds like he didn't really get the object of his obsession and is now retaliating, like kind of like what you would compare to like a narcissistic wound. Like when you wound a narcissist, they want to just basically bury you. It sounds like there was some hardcore emotion and they were very cautious about talking to him about how he was going to be sued, pretty much. So Justin Baldoni is writing, "Morning, not in love with the document they sent, not sure I'm feeling the protection I felt on the call." So they're like sales pitching him, right? And the reply is, "This is the first time I've personally gone through scenario planning with them. So I think let's let them discuss the thinking behind the process and the actual process." So they're putting together a campaign. So Justin says, "Yeah, just feels very much like there is not much defense, and also them feeling strong, like she's going to do something just a bit concerning what everyone had originally thought." What's she going to do, Justin? What's she going to do? You think maybe she's going to show videos of you doing things? You think maybe she's going to show things that the public has not seen in the past year? Because you're still fighting this hard and you're still that terrified? What's she going to do? What are you so worried about? What What have you been caught doing? That's a good question. In another thread, Melissa says, we can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. Oh my God. I feel like I'm losing brain cells reading these messages, but if you're not seeing them, I want to read them for you so that you can just be aware of the reality of what is happening between one of the biggest celebrity legal battles we've ever seen. So Jen Abel says, of course not, but I told him that's the point of talking through. Melissa says, he has to look at it as information document for us to be armed with. That's all. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. What's he want? What did he do that's so bad that he wants to bury Blake Lively? What is he so scared of that she's going to show? What'd you do in the car to her? Then Melissa, because it's so mature, the work is not the document. The work is the fucking crisis. LOL. Okay. Jen says, if it's any consolation, he's like this with everything. Overthinks, stresses, high anxiety. He just needs to be educated on how this process works. So we're starting to see a little bit of Justin's personality traits coming out here, right? A little bit of obsessive. Melissa writes, you know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him. I will. I'll be very tough. And also, as you know, this is twisting, turning, because we don't know their moves. But don't worry, I get it. I may just drink half a tank of Pepto-Bismol and I'll be ready for the call. They're that worried. They're that anxious that they have stomach ulcers to talk to him. What's he done? They want to say, hey, tell us everything. Tell us all the dirt so we can protect you. And they're scared to ask that question. So Jen writes, yes, exactly. And maybe that's how you approach the Baha'i thing, the religion that they're in, that we had no idea of his approach and why we can't be proactive as we have no idea what she will come out with. You're his team. You should have an idea, right? He should be telling you the truth. Did you ever really know what he really did? Why are they so surprised if they're the ones working for him? He's not even telling his paid crisis team the level of nastiness that he did to multiple women? Melissa writes, he also cannot come across as a victim. We are walking a very fine line. Well, yeah, because didn't you say he had a porn addiction? He talks all about forgiveness and femininity and how it all feels extremely performative. We don't want him to be a victim now because he's strong and he's overcome things. Wait, all the things that he just did to Blake Lively and all the women on the set the whole year. Not even a year, but he's still doing it now. So Jen writes, exactly. He can't look guilty either by shying from away from this stuff. I can't. The typos are so bad, you guys. So Melissa writes, don't worry. I didn't kill her and send her in a box to your house. It's a congratulations present. Can we timestamp that? Let's say it again. Melissa Nathan writes, don't worry, I didn't kill her and send her in a box to your house. It's a congratulations present. What the fuck? Okay, so they're texting back and forth a strategy and an agenda that they're going to be giving. And I posted some of this like in a carousel that you can see. I love how it's first marked confidential. Like that fucking means anything when you're doing things that are potentially completely illegal. Confidential scenario planning. It ends with us. It certainly does end with you guys. So there's an objective: protect the reputation of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfair Studios in the lead up, during, and following the premiere of It Ends With Us. Underscore the achievement and efforts of the Wayfair team in bringing this movie to life and emphasize Justin and the studio's commitment to their team and making the broader industry a more inclusive space. We want to include sexual harassment in the industry. We want to bring it back because Harvey Weinstein took it away. Yeah. So there's an overview. They have a crisis mitigation and a response. An example is that TAG, the company, will confirm outlets intending on covering the story, especially those impactful to Justin, Jamie, and Wayfair's interests, are fully briefed on the situation, including and not limited to Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, The Wrap, New York Post, Daily Mail, etc. So now they're not going to smear Blake, but they're going to completely control the narrative by burying stories and lying and making Justin look better and smearing Blake. I don't know how you would describe that any other way. They talk about having like a common language, so everybody has like similar talking points, which we've seen for the year. It's been true. Our team will develop clean top line messaging, outlining the facts in conjunction with Jen Abel and her team. Our team will collate a list of people who have publicly discussed their positive working experience with Justin. Examples include Brandon Sklenar, who I think also said negative things about Justin, Colleen Hoover. Okay, that one's off the table. Entertainment Weekly. Okay. Let's talk about like all the women that Justin's run into throughout his life. Maybe women from university in Long Beach. Maybe women from his other TV show. Is it Jane the Virgin? I'm sure they'll just be called to the stand to share their stories. Oh, and we have some key messaging points. We really want to get across here that Justin Baldoni, JB's stellar reputation among colleagues and industry peers, numerous quotes and interviews sharing positive experiences. I do love that that's like top tier for them, and it didn't even work because that didn't even work. Like, no, people still don't know who the fuck this guy is. JB has been a longtime activist and advocate of and for women in Hollywood and the Me Too movement. His podcast, Man Enough, didn't the co-host leave? Why do you have to forgive yourself for so much? Why not just don't do it? Just don't do it. And then stop doing it again. And then stop doing it again. Like sexually harassing. Yeah. Oh, and they also want to emphasize production members lost their jobs due to Blake Lively's takeover and insisted upon involvement, including loss of budget due to rescheduling. Yeah. Blake Lively had a baby, and within weeks she came back. And even though she was being sexually harassed and entirely uncomfortable, I mean, if you are a woman and you've had a baby, I cannot believe that you would even take this lightly. But she's in this environment and she didn't have to be. No, she's really, really rich. She could have left, but she stayed because she cared about the cast and crew, the hundreds of people that wanted to work and make money during COVID. So again, what they're doing is they're twisting subtly to make it look like she was the problem when she was not. When Blake Lively wasn't able to get her way on set or behind the scenes, she involved her husband to create an imbalance, there's a typo in that, of power between her and Justin Baldoni. Again, not true. Ryan Reynolds went so far as to use his power to call agents and agencies, Sony, and other key players so that Blake would get her way. No, not true. Actually, there were so many complaints on set and nobody was doing anything about them because you're not going to complain to your harasser, which would be Wayfair and all of them running around like they're little fucking horny teenagers. And then it goes to Sony and Sony doesn't do anything. But Angie from Sony is on set all the time. So, they're sending her there. She's got to have so much information. Where is she? Where has she been? She still work there at Sony? Or did she run? So again, if you hear Ryan Reynolds' name, immediately you're going to think, oh my God, he's there to just use his power, right? They're planting all of these seeds so that if anything happens in the future, that's where your mind goes. It's called the recency effect. Blake Lively's less than favorable reputation in the industry spans decades and has been reported. There were issues on Gossip Girl, The Town, A Simple Favor, and more. So we're going to really point out any kind of issues that she had. We're going to state it immediately to turn into those, micro moments, but we're not going to talk about the overall positivity and the love of Blake Lively for so many years of her career, all of her companies, her precious children, her longstanding relationship, her family. No, we're going to purposefully hone in on these reported moments. And then when stuff comes up, you guys are all going to go straight there, which everyone did and everyone is still doing. Our team will also include additional positive stats re Justin Baldoni's career, his accolades, his inspiration to take on this project right after he took a project from the Flores family, he died from osteoporosis, I think, and they're suing Brian Friedman right now, right? Okay, but we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on all of his stellar accolades so that if anything comes up with that, the population will be so flooded with information, they're going to go back to those simple moments, and they're just going to think about, oh, wait, Justin Good. Justin, good. Then they move into an action plan. Scenario 1. Blake and team push out negative story, read Justin, Wayfair, post premiere. I don't know if it was pushing out a negative story or just telling the truth, but this is how they're spinning it, right? They're pushing out a negative story. That sounds malicious when really they're just sharing with the public that Justin did negative things. So it's not a story, it's actual truth. But again, they're manipulating you. One of the items is depending upon the scope of her push, we recommend planting a seed. What did I just say? Earlier on to position your truth narrative around the ordeal in a subtle way to avoid having to backtrack. So they're using the recency effect. If we're going to plant all these seeds, we don't want the public to have to think too hard. We want them to just grab on to the most recent good thing about Justin that they can to deter them from anything about Blake. Do you not see the manipulation here? An idea for this, and working alongside Jen, is giving a friendly reporter who is covering the film a simple line hinting that while you and Blake didn't always agree at times, had our differences, in quotes, you have respect for her. This way, if Blake Lively stories are softer, we don't look as aggressive. You guys have fallen for this hook, line, and sinker because now you're making it seem like Blake Lively is the aggressor. That is the outcome of this manipulation. And I have to say, although these women are catty and their text messages are cringy, and overall they seem like pretty negative, dark spirited human beings, they're pretty good at psychological torture and manipulating the masses. And since Brian Friedman studied in that too prior to law, he's jumping on in with this. So they go into scenario 2. And again, this is all up on the docket. I would read it. It's very insightful to see that there's so much thought put into ruining anyone's possible positive perception of Blake Lively. Like, it is extensive, probably more extensive than some of the psychological reports that I write. Scenario 2, Blake subtly hints at her experience, in quotes, being sexually harassed on set in post premiere coverage, either in an interview, op ed, or otherwise. Okay, so if Blake doesn't straight come out and say it, what if she subtly comes out and says it? You don't think that she knew that? You don't think that she also knew that they had all of this plan to annihilate her? So then maybe she was very careful and socially awkward and anxious during all of the post premiere filming. Our prediction is that Blake Lively address her experience on set in upcoming press. She will not name you, Justin Baldoni, directly, but rather pepper in Easter eggs, alluding to your involvement, being mindful not to completely jeopardize her potential involvement in the film's sequel, while still planting seeds of doubt and speculation, especially amongst the passionate fan base. So anyone who throws hate at me right now, that's exactly who they targeted. They targeted Justin's passionate fan base. And then they built on it and they built on it. And it's been a fucking year of them building it up and manipulating you in an extremely calculated fashion. They talk about what other celebs they're going to bring in. Like they would pull in Leighton Meester. I have to say, Leighton was a total fucking bitch to me when I met her. I was with a group of girls and someone asked for her autograph and she was so rude and just said no. And I think she used a curse word and it was just so off putting. It was nothing that you would see as the characters they play, which I tell you guys all the time. These are characters. And then, yeah, let's call Ben Affleck because he has such a good reputation. Call up Anna Kendrick. She's also listed. Yeah. Anna Kendrick actually came to Blake's side. So we could take that one off the list. So it goes on, scenario number 3. Again, Ryan comes forward in defense of his wife. And of course he would. Now everyone's like, where's Ryan? Where's Ryan? Why isn't he speaking up? Well, maybe it's because they had a whole plan that if he did speak up, they were going to try and annihilate him. Maybe that's why he has to be very careful because there was a whole plan to attack him. So now we're going to attack both the primary They have a family, they have children, they've got companies, they have hundreds of people that work for them. The strategy of how Ryan had to defend his wife who was sexually harassed by Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath in this horrible environment of production. He can't even stand up for his wife in the way that he would because of the retaliation that they anticipated. Should Ryan come forward in defense of his wife, we would advise against any direct engagement or statement. Direct. Inquiring reporters and those in need of updating would be given a pre approved line of background attributed to source, implying his lack of connection or involvement with the making of the film. And that is another imbalance of power and attempt to strong arm production by major A-list stars. Now, because he's so famous, we're going to make him pay for it because you're so famous, you can't protect your wife. And he did. He came to set all the time. He came to set all the time to show his presence because it was ongoing sexual harassment and chaos and a horrible work environment. He came to set all the time. And the fact that he's so careful right now during this lawsuit says a lot. It says a lot about Jed Wallace. It says a lot about all of the smearing that is actually still going on that people are just hoping will not be discovered because at some point you just stop discovery. At some point you just stop and you have to go to trial. So it doesn't mean that they're not still fucking doing all of this in other ways. Oh, and there was an email that was dropped basically quoting how much it would cost for them to do all this shit, the stuff that's just going to land them in hell if there is one. Quote one, $75,000. This will be for a 3 to 4 month period and includes all of this stuff. Quote two, 5,000 per month with a minimum of 3 months for them to do all this. So I guess what this is teaching our youth is that we should really get into smear campaigns because wow, if we can understand the dark web and ruin someone's life, we can make a lot of money. Yeah. Um, and I want to clarify one thing as well. It is known that people on the Lively team, Ryan Reynolds, many people were like, hey, just apologize. Just own what you did, Justin and Jamie. Just own it. And we're not going to move forward with litigation. Like, why put everyone through this? This is your choice. And so they made suggestions. Now, what dropped on the docket today was a letter that was not their suggestions. This was a letter written by Mitz Toskovic, a letter written by someone in Wayfair, and it literally is them owning up to all of their shit. And I'm going to read that letter for you. I posted it. This was not written by the Lively side. This was written by them. And honestly, you need to go to the docket and see because after this letter is proposed in these group messages, it's basically Justin's wife that says, fuck no, we're not writing any letter. She made this bed. Now she can fucking live in it. Wow. And isn't there a video well, I know it's been taken offline because now it's going to be used in court, but of Justin like with another woman? I don't know how this woman, Emily, and Jamie Heath's wife, I don't know. Talk to me in like 5-10 years, and I highly doubt these relationships are going to work out because these guys have a long-standing pattern of being really shitty. But anyway, so I'll read you the letter and then I'll try and conclude because this has been the longest YouTube I think I've ever done. It ends with us was a troubled production, which we take full accountability for. We are very sorry for, I sounded so Canadian in that, sorry. We are very sorry to everyone we caused upset to privately and publicly. Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, and the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way. Any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. We mutually agreed that the cast would be promoting the film separately and understood why. Not the cast, Justin Baldoni. Everyone was cool with walking the premiere with Blake. They didn't want Justin there. Justin was banished to the basement. No, he suggested he wait there rather than coming at a different time. Everyone else was cool with being up there with Blake Lively. Like, it's a little common sense. If the cast and crew cared, they would have encouraged Justin to still come up, right? Like, it's not they don't Blake Lively doesn't have that much fucking power in the walking of a premiere. We mutually agreed. Blah blah blah. We hold ourselves accountable. It's not everyone's job but ours. And that's part again, these typos. Oh my God. I know. We're not talking about like, PhDs in education. I know. But seriously, we hold ourselves accountable. It's not anyone's job but ours. And that's that part of being man enough. So they're quoting their own podcast. Also, the quotation is on the inside of the period. Just so you know, like if you're going to end a sentence, you end it with the period and you put the quotation marks on the outside. Just FYI. We will practice what we preach. We are learning and growing from the experience, and we thank everyone for their patience as we find a better way to proceed. We are very proud of the film and the welcome arms that it's received. Part of our work is to have uncomfortable conversations for public growth. The film is doing that on screen, and we are doing that off screen. Thank you to the cast. There should be a comma, there's not. Crew, comma, and public for the opportunity to be imperfect. Thank you for letting me sexually harass women and torment people on this set and to be given the space to learn and grow. Humanity and dedication. Shouldn't it be with humility? I don't know. Justin, Jamie, and Wayfair Studio. Okay, so then we have it. Okay, and just to finalize today, I don't think my YouTubes will be this long unless people want me to go over this stuff in such detail. It's just very timely. But I did see that Turning Point USA, Turning Point, which I didn't even know existed before I had to see live Charlie Kirk get shot. That Turning Point USA offered to talk to Candace Owens, who appears to say that they're like part of the assassination. And it's really a hot mess. And I'm kind of concerned about like mental health with everyone involved. But I just want to like place a bet. Here's my guess is that Candace Owens will never, ever actually show up to have that conversation with Turning Point. She'll say it's a danger to her safety or something, that something is going to come through the microphone and take her out. Because they did also say that it was going to be virtual. She would still be able to be in her basement in Tennessee. Lots has happened. Lots has happened on the docket. President Trump sent over, I don't know, it was like people are saying 200 to 400 tweets the other night and then slept throughout like all these meetings through the day. The misogyny, the nastiness, the comments that are coming from this cabinet, it's appalling to me. I find it absolutely disgusting. The words that are being used towards people are absolutely disgusting. And I feel like we've just gone back 30, 40, 50 years. And we can't stand for it. And we have to keep fighting against it. And this isn't a Republican issue. This isn't a Democrat issue. This is a Trump issue. This is a Caroline Levitt issue. This is a Kristi Noem issue. It probably is a Kash Patel issue, but sounds like he's not going to be around. It's definitely a Mike Johnson issue who lives with a male pastor priest. Okay, so there might be he might be gay, and that may be why he's also homophobic. So how do you do that? Well, you prevent the release of the Epstein files. Yeah. So there's a lot of secrets that are coming out, but it's the administration and it's these bobbleheads that are causing all these problems. And I don't think it's going to last because it is just too chaotic and too horrible. And they're going to be picked off one by one. But my biggest fear is, what are we going to be left with? What are we going to be left with? Okay, that was so long. This is going to take 300 years to upload. I think I'm going to need to upgrade this. If you liked my recap, let me know. I will continue to do this because there's going to be a shit ton of documents dropped over the month of December. I am writing massive reports for other cases, and I finished a 150-page report today. And it made sense from page 1 down to page 150. What you thought in the beginning, you expected at the end. So proud. And it's going to lead to justice. It's going to lead to a very high profile man losing a lot of money because he raped a very high profile woman. I don't know if anyone will ever get to learn of it or see it, which sucks, but I know. And I'll never forget. That's your tea. I'll talk to you guys another day.